We'll just wait a minute for Amanda and Maureen to come on.
I'm on.
Oh, you're on? Okay. Amanda?
We're waiting for Sabrina. She was just
Sabrina.
calling on, and Amanda.
Is Amanda on? Sabrina's on?
Amanda's on.
Okay, I'm gonna start the meeting. Everyone good?
Yep.
Mr. Kennedy, we're good? Is he muted?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Pagoda Board of Education regular virtual meeting, November 17th, 2020 at 7:02 p.m. Can you please stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Pagoda Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Pagoda Borough Hall, communicated by letter to the record, filed with the clerk of the Borough of Pagoda, and posted on the Pagoda Board of Education website. Irving, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Alvarez,
Present.
Mrs. Kearns,
Present.
Mrs. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. McHale, absent, Mrs. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Moore,
Yeah.
Mrs. Van Buren,
Present.
Ms. Montgomery,
Here.
Mrs. Coles.
Here.
We have the quorum.
Thank you. Also present is Mr. Kennedy, our superintendent, Nathaniel Slimer, our board attorney, Mr. Edsel, our board administrator, and Elizabeth Ruiz, our assistant board secretary. Is our student Congress representative on? Elsie? I don't see her. Okay. Okay, at this time, can I have a motion to open up to public comment?
So moved.
Jim, second?
Second, Maureen.
Second, Maureen, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this point, if anybody would like to come forward on agenda item, state your name and your.
Just reminding everyone to mute when you're not speaking because I can hear echoes.
I don't see anybody coming forward. Okay, can I have a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second, Eileen.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy, superintendent's report?
Yes. All right, so first, our football team will be competing on Saturday versus Emerson High School at 1 o'clock. And they will be playing for a conference championship, the Union Division. This was the new league formed this year with some of the smaller schools, and we have excelled in it. We are 3-1. We are hitting our stride, so it'll be a great game on Saturday. So good luck to Coach Appleton and the coaches and all the boys. So Emerson at 1 o'clock. Tickets requests, I guess you could go through Mr. DeRupo, but they are limited. especially now too, because the numbers came out, and I think we're down to 150, including participants and everything like that. So right now it's really reserved for family and coaches and things like that. So also we did meet with the auditor earlier today and last week. And so we are waiting for the state figures to complete the audit, but our surplus figures are in from last year. And we do have about $2 million surplus from last year. $600,000 of that will go into next year's budget, the 21-22 budget. $235,000 will go into maintenance reserve, and then 1.2 million we will put back into capital reserve, bringing our capital reserve total back up to $1.5 million that we can use for projects and things of that nature. I do have an addendum tonight. We are hiring a new art teacher. Mr. Collegia will be leaving us as of January 1st, so we bid him adieu. Anyone that has come across Mr. Collegia knows his spunk and fire, so we will miss him. He had a passion for art. And then finally, I just want to talk about the rise in COVID cases. I know in Bogota, we're seeing a surge. I see the numbers of cases. I know in-person instruction has been halted. We have teachers quarantining. The numbers each day are getting higher and higher. And actually today, which was a little alarming, the deaths were a lot higher as well. So looking at all this, looking at our figures in school, I think it's something that we have to consider is after the holidays is shutting down because of where we're seeing the data is what we're seeing is the people are contracting it from one another in family gatherings. The governor has gone as far as limiting gatherings to 10 people per household. I don't know how you govern that. And that's part of the scary part right now for us, because we've had kids sitting in the building with it that are asymptomatic, and we've had to shut down. We've had to quarantine teachers, and we seem to be getting a new case every day. So I think it's something that we definitely have to discuss tonight. A lot of districts in our area are doing it. They're shutting down from after Thanksgiving to Martin Luther King. That would be 2 weeks. After Thanksgiving, we would have about 2 or 3 in-person instruction days that we would just say we're going to go all virtual. And then the 2 weeks after New Year's Eve, this would allow us to hopefully come back after January and start fresh again. But the concern seems to be the cases that are rising daily. So that's where we are at right now. But I think that's definitely something we have to talk about tonight and get a grip on how we want to handle that moving forward. That's my superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of minutes for October 13th, work session regular meeting, and October 27th, regular meeting open and closed session. Can I have a motion?
So moved, Amanda.
Amanda, can I have a
Second,
second?
Sabrina.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Irvin, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Buren,
Kathy's on mute.
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Coles.
Yes on October 13th and no on October 27th. I wasn't present.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Move on to policy 11-17-20-01 to 11-17-20-15. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second, Amanda.
Lisa, these are just first reading except for number 1.
Will you say that again, Kathy?
Number 1 is the only one that we'll take action on. The rest are just first reading.
Okay.
I'll make a motion on number 101.
Okay, 11/17.
I'll second it.
Jim, okay. Irvin, can you call the roll?
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Buren,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Coles.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion on any of the other policies? No? Okay, Irvin, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Buren,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Coles.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We'll move on to education, 11/17/2016 to 11/17/2020. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, Kathy.
Kathy, does anybody have any discussion? No discussion? Irvin, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Buren,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Coles.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Lizzie, on that, I said 25, it was 22 to 22. You have that? She's on mute.
She said she gave a thumbs up.
Okay. Move on to personnel, 11/17/2023 to 11/17/2025. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, Kathy.
Okay, does anybody have any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Irvin, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Buren,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Coles.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we're going to do the personnel addendum. Hopefully everyone got that in your email. 11/17/2038. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, Amanda.
Second, Amanda. Any discussion? Irvin, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Buren,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Mrs. Coles.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We'll move on to finance, 11/17/2026 to 11/17/2037. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, Amanda.
Second, Amanda. Any discussion? No discussion. Irvin, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mrs. Kearns,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Van Buren,
On resolution number 26, no on check number 025688, the amount of 265650. Yes on everything else.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery, did you say yes?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Mrs. Coles? Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. Does anybody have any committee reports?
I do. Kathy?
Okay. Yep. Go ahead, Kath.
Nate, all righty. Just insofar as we have a delegates assembly coming up this Saturday, and there's a resolution to be voted on, so I need a consensus of the board. I will read the resolution to you. The Lodi Board of Education in Bergen County proposes new policy language supporting the requirement that a board member with a term of office extending beyond the next election must resign the seat currently held before submitting a nominating petition to stand as a candidate for a seat different than the seat currently held by the member. That makes sense to everybody? It's a very complicated resolution. In other words, if somebody has a seat and their term would extend past the next election, but they want to run for, say, a full seat, a full 3-year seat, they have to resign the seat they're sitting in. Not if somebody's term is expiring, but if they would have carried on after that period. I guess they had a situation in Lodi. But that is up, and I will need to cast a vote. I don't see a problem with it.
So I think, from my understanding, so in other words, if someone's on the board and another person's resigning from the board and they still have 2 years left, but this person's position is up, they would have to resign from that position?
Whatever position, or let's just say in this past election, I'm in my last year, right? In this past election, I wanted to run in this past election for another 3-year term. I couldn't continue my current sitting term. I would have had to resign from my current sitting term from the board and then put my petition in to run for a new 3-year seat going forward. I couldn't maintain my seat while applying for another one. They don't want people doubling over, I guess. So if you're going to run for a new seat, you have to get off the board and start to run fresh. Unless your term is expired, then obviously you would run as a continuation. It's a little confusing, but it sort of makes sense. They don't want people running for another seat while they're still holding a seat. It just makes things a little complicated, I suppose. So is anybody opposed if I approve that?
I think I get it. I think I get it.
Took me a while.
So I have 2 years left on my seat.
Right.
But if I wanted to run in this upcoming election, I'd have to resign because I wouldn't be able to extend my seat
Right.
further. It's like you can't double back on it.
Exactly. You can't stay secure in the seat that you have while you're running for a new seat. If you want to run for a new seat, goodbye and start all over again.
It has to expire and then you run. Okay. But
Right.
I wouldn't be leaving my term early in order to run. It would only be if I can't double up on the.
Right. You can't run while you still have a seat that's going to continue on after the election.
Right. Got it.
I'm fine with it. Everybody?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
All righty. Thank you. Then I will vote yes for that. The other thing that came up at our recent county alliance meeting, a couple of things did come up. One was just what Damien was talking about. A lot of districts are closing down from Thanksgiving through to January because most of the cases, schools are doing great, but the cases are coming in where parents are homesick and a child comes in and then, the contamination comes through there. So what Damien is suggesting has become almost commonplace now. They're around the state because our calls are statewide. One of the things that has come up, and Damien said that they've talked about this with the superintendents as well, is state testing. As of today or to date, state testing is still on. It hasn't been canceled. They didn't have it last year because of COVID. There's a lot of districts that are very concerned about the fact that one gentleman thought it was wise to have it because it would show how far our children are behind. But most people felt that state testing is just another distraction in an already very disruptive educational environment for the children. A lot of children who would be testing are home, so it's the parents who's testing. It's not a true evaluation. Also, teachers are based on how well their children are doing by these state tests. So teachers' accreditations, if you will, are going to be affected by the fact that these tests will be totally skewed to be done that way. This is coming up for another discussion at one of our next county meetings, and I was just curious what you as fellow board members felt about that I could bring back to these discussions. Anybody, any thoughts? Do you think it's a good idea to have state testing, or do you think that they should be suspended this year? The governor hasn't made a choice yet.
Kathy, I heard that.
I don't think it would be a good idea.
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
I personally would take the advice of the superintendent, on this issue, but I don't know. I'm a little torn with that because if we go virtual now, from now until God knows when, what's the instruction? And it's like the same as we left last time. So I don't know. I'd have to take the advice of,
This is something it's a roundtable discussion. I'm not saying with the delegates assembly, I have to vote, okay? I will vote that we're in favor of that. This is mere discussion, purely for discussion, the pros and cons, if you will, of state testing.
As of now, I don't think it would be a good idea because it wouldn't be fair to the students.
Yeah.
Well,
And the education time is already so broken up. This, you know how you teach the test. Think of how much time is spent teaching the test. How are they going to split that up when parents are sitting home? I mean, I've been helping my little grandchildren. I said, my poor little grandchildren would be in trouble, with me trying to help them with the state test. So I personally don't think it's a good idea, but I was hoping, if any of you have any thoughts on it, email me. Jot me some thoughts or questions that I could bring up at the table.
I do think,
That's it.
depending on if, in other words, if they gave us access to the test, so we had the data from the test and it's not published and teachers aren't judged on it, I think that would be something that we'd be interested in. Again, but I agree 100% that we will be playing catch up for a couple of years after this is over. And state testing, we don't want the teachers worried about preparing the kids for the test right now. We want them just doing the best with the kids because kids are struggling during this. Some kids are flourishing, some kids are having a tough time. So we're seeing it now. I'm hoping that we are more than 3/4 done with this. And, when we get to the spring that we might be able to move back to a little normalcy. But testing is something I don't want the teachers or students worrying about right now. If we don't,
A lot of the children, I think that was one of the concerns. The children are already so overwhelmed, as are the families, that this is one more. And then parent, if a child doesn't do well, then a parent is going to have that burden. You know what happens already when we don't have good test scores. Can you imagine?
yeah. Well, I also wonder how they would even give it if they're allowing kids to stay home.
Right.
Well, that's it.
So
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. So
They're going to be testing parents and grandparents, not children.
My only concern is there some other type of evaluation that we can give to the students so that we can see or gauge to make sure that they're not falling too far behind and this way we're not really catching up later,
yeah.
Okay, good idea.
There are things that we use already that we're using. That is along with our curriculum for math and English and some science. So we are on top of that, but we are going to be playing catch up and we understand that. So, but we said from day one when this started that the number one priority is keeping everyone safe.
Right.
And keeping our staff and students safe. But I also worry about our kids bringing it home to their parents and to their grandparents and to their aunts and uncles right now. That's the bigger concern that I have. Because I think we are doing a pretty good job in school, but kids are bringing it to school and we can't detect it because they're asymptomatic. So we did the best that we could. I hope we can stay open till Thanksgiving. But if we have 1 or 2 more cases in the high school, we're going to have to shut down because it'll be 3 cases in a week if they're not the same. So our numbers are very small right now. In district today, I think we had about 30 kids in the high school. We had about 60 kids in Steen and about 80 kids in Bixby. So we have small numbers, And we recognize that, the 100, the 80 and the 60, they probably need the most help, but we got to meet as an admin team tomorrow and see what we can do to help those families. If we're closing and we're not forced to close, how we can maybe help some of those families out and get kids in on those days that they're coming in and working with aides and subs at least to get, if we can. But, the concern is a kid bringing it to school and someone getting sick, or a kid passing it on to another kid and then bringing it home. That's the concern.
Well, thank you. If anybody has any thoughts on it at all, questions you want me to ask or suggestions or ideas, please just email me. We had just had a meeting yesterday, so it'll be another 2 weeks before my next meeting. So, thank you. Done.
Okay, does anybody else have any committee reports?
Just briefly, the first meeting for the administrators for negotiations happened last night. It was really good, productive. First meeting, so it's just introductions and laying down the groundwork, but look forward to working with them, and it should be productive, and hopefully we'll get this done before the end of the year.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Anybody else? Okay, does anybody have any old business? Okay, new business. I'll bring up new business. Can we speak about the closure? Are we going to make movement on this tonight, or more discussion, or wait to public comments? I don't know what you want to do, but I think we need to make a decision tonight
I'm sorry, the what?
regarding our closure. Mr. Kennedy, aren't we supposed to be
I didn't hear that.
maybe putting a motion on the table tonight if we're going to close?
I think that's Mr. Kennedy's call as superintendent.
No, I know we were going to discuss it, and, I think we have to approve it, I would imagine.
Well, we're really not closing, we're just going back to virtual, just the way we started school. I would hope the teachers would be in the classroom and we go back to that format. I don't know.
Okay, if we don't need a vote on it, then I'm fine with it.
I don't know. That Nathaniel, do we have to vote?
Nathaniel, you're on mute.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No, not really. I mean, I don't know, Damien, if he has a definite plan at this point, that he wants to, have people aware of. I think that what he was saying is that if the numbers go up, he may have no choice, and that if they do go up, what I heard is that in all likelihood, given the way this calendar of the schools are, you might be better off just closing through January 15th. But again, I don't know if that's what you were saying, Damien.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So the health department we've been in contact with, the numbers come out on Thursday. We were in yellow, we were in a high yellow. If we go to orange, the recommendation is to go all virtual. But besides that, I think the concern is the 2 weeks after Thanksgiving and the 2 weeks after New Year's Eve. And those have nothing to do with numbers really at this point in time. That's just more of, families getting together and it's spreading, and that's what the data is showing us right now. The question then becomes, is the week and a half in between Thanksgiving and holiday break, is it worth keeping everyone out for those 8 days? It's 3 days of in-person instruction, and then come back January 19th. And hopefully we come back for a couple of weeks and we start increasing what we're doing with more kids in the building. But we're seeing more kids not come to school. So, I think that, I think by Friday, I would like to have a decision to give people a proper time to plan. I would give them 2 full weeks to plan. So by Friday, I could reach out to everybody, but if the numbers were like today or tomorrow, or the numbers today or tomorrow, then I don't see how we can, continue moving forward.
That's why.
Are you just saying kids virtual or teachers virtual too?
I don't know where I stand with that right now because the teachers have been doing a good job from home. The idea of we don't want anyone coming in, maybe if the numbers are that high. If we go to orange, I think we would keep the teachers out because they don't want people out and about. But if we're yellow, then the teachers can come in and work from their classroom still. I think that's safe. But if we go orange, then that might be a reason to pause even the teachers coming in and have them work from home until we go back to yellow.
Okay, then we'll wait till Friday, right?
Yeah, I'll be in touch before then. After we get, I have conversations with the health department daily, and I like them on board with any decisions that we make.
Okay, does anybody else have any new business? Okay, can I have a motion to open up to public comments?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second, Maureen, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, if anybody would like to come forward, just state your name and your address, please.
I
We
do
have
see
two-
a question in the chat. I see a question in the chat about senior pictures. Yes, we would definitely come up with a schedule for the seniors to get their pictures. That would not be, we would figure out a way to do that and communicate that to everyone before we get to December.
Kathy, did you see the question? If a current member resigns to run for election, will that affect voting on resolutions? Kathy?
I'm sorry, what is the question?
Kathy, it pertains to your issue, that you brought forward, if a current member resigns to run for election, will that affect voting on resolutions? That is what you said, if you want to run for election? It shouldn't, because you're still going to be your term, correct?
Right, until you would resign from the board, you would still be an active board member. Once you resign, you would not be active. This is only, this is not a question for us right now. This is a question that's going to go before the delegates assembly, and then school boards will decide how they enact that.
Right,
The
if you
only
resign,
thing
of
the only
course,
thing
you
that
can't
I
vote.
was going to say that that creates a situation where the board member wouldn't resign until they got elected, right? I mean, they would have to be elected, otherwise what would be the point of them running?
No, I think she was saying, no, you have to resign before you can even run.
Before you can put your petition in, you have to resign. Your petition will not be accepted if you're still an active board member with another term yet to come.
So what it does is it creates a vacancy. So that could affect, it would create a vacancy that the board would have to then.
Well, not really, because that person would be active then until reorg, right? And then the new board members would come up.
No, because they would be resigning. You would have to.
Well, well, that's true. It says resigning at the effect of putting in their petition. That is how it's worded.
And when would they have to resign by? Like by the July date that you have to put in your petition?
Exactly.
I think though,
To be honest, from a legal standpoint, I think it's not really enforceable. I don't think you can force somebody to resign to run.
It's it does say, I'm muted. It says, just to repeat it, it says that they must resign the seat currently held before submitting a nominating petition. That's how it reads. So are we not in favor of that? What do you think, Nathaniel?
Well, I mean, look, we've had board members who have served as board members and run for council, and then they resign, and it creates a vacancy. We didn't require them to resign from the board before running for another office.
I agree.
I'm not sure I understand exactly what the motive here is and what the impact. In other words, the person would resign, creating a vacancy, and if it wasn't done in the right way, the board would have to self-appoint. So it could create I don't know. It just doesn't seem constitutional to me.
What was the reason you said something about Lodi? What happened in Lodi? That caused this?
I don't know. They don't give you a rationalization. they just say, Lodi submitted this resolution to go before the assembly. And just as the Lodi Board of Education proposes new policy language supporting the requirement that a board member with a term of office, they must have had a problem, extending beyond the next election must resign the seat currently held before submitting a nominating position. I thought it seemed a little complicated to me, personally.
I'm not for it. I'm gonna say no.
My
I'm
guess,
really for
my
it.
guess is maybe what happened was, let's say there wasn't that many people running that election, and they
Right.
wanted to like, so maybe they had like a year or two left. But if they joined on that election, then that would extend their term even further.
Right.
So maybe that's what they did, but it was kind of like you already had a seat. Why would you run again in another election type of situation?
It sounds sort of political to me, personally. It sounds a little,
I could find out.
well, yeah, yes, I could. I also could ask for discretion if once I hear explanation, once they hear argument, there'll be argument before there's a vote. So if you request my discretion,
But at the end of the day, there'll be policy on exactly what they have to do if they want it. Like, there'll be policy from Strauss Esme that we would have to
course.
follow.
right. But this will determine whether or not school boards is going to pursue this or not.
They did something super shady. That's all I can think. Like, because I mean, I'm trying to think of scenarios, and maybe I'm just not devious enough to think of a scenario that would work in. Like, maybe they wanted to fill the seat. Like, okay, I'm gonna resign, and I'm gonna put my buddy in that spot, and then I'm gonna run because I'm more popular, and I'll win. Like, like that's my devious side. Don't tell anybody, but like, that's like something I can think of. But other than that, I'm not really sure how that would work.
That's what I think. I think Lodi had a situation where they were playing games and they decided they didn't want to play that way anymore. So I can find out. I'll try to find out tomorrow. I'll see if I can get some more specific information on
I
it.
just want to know because I just want to
You
know.
know, I just don't know if it's legally enforceable that you can force somebody there's nothing in the statute that prohibits someone from applying to be on a board of education as long as they have basic statutory requirements and the petition and all of that done.
Right.
So to force them to resign, I don't even know who would how you could require that. That from a legal standpoint, I mean, philosophically, like you said, Amanda, there's probably a lot of scenarios you could come up
I'm
with.
sure.
But, I think, Kathy, you need to maybe just find out a little bit more and hear what it really is all about. And
I'll do that in the morning.
Yeah.
I can do that in the morning. Not a problem. And I'll let everybody know. We can't work together as a group online, but at least we have direction here.
All right. Do we have any other people coming forward? I don't see any hands. If anyone. Mr. Kennedy, do you see anybody?
No.
I see a Laura.
Laura has her hand raised.
Oh,
Who?
oh wait, I see it now.
Laura. Okay, we have Laura.
Laura.
Okay, Laura, you're on.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Again, I thank you for your service on the board. This is a very difficult time with a lot of very difficult decisions to be made. And I just want you to know that I really support Mr. Kennedy in his possible decision to close the schools through January, whatever the date would be, 15th. The districts around us are closing. Bergen County right now is having cases that are just as high as they were back in March, April, May. It's a very dangerous time for us. And I can tell you that I don't think there's a teacher on staff that does not agree that in-person learning is not better than virtual learning. But the problem is, can we do it safely? And what is the cost? What is the cost to us if someone is hospitalized, if a family becomes a super spreader over the holidays? It's just very dangerous. I have 3 friends currently working at Hackensack Hospital who are so alarmed by what is going on right now. They are more scared than they were in April and May. We may very well have a catastrophe on our hands. I would not want to see one of my children or one of their family members ending up hospitalized on a ventilator because we couldn't hang on for a few more weeks going virtual. We know it's not as good as in person, but we need to be safe. We need to protect our families. We need to protect our staff, our teachers. So I am adamantly behind Mr. Kennedy's decision or not decision or thought that perhaps waiting until after the holidays is better for us. Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I don't see anybody else.
No one else.
Okay, can I have a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second, Maureen.
Maureen, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Lisa, may I
don't
say-
think we need- Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
All right, I would just like to reach out personally to people as well. I'm an advocate of masks. I know most of us really are. I think we need to all beg families to please follow the rules and have the masks and wearing masks. Jean and I passed a nursery school the other day up here. We're in New York right now. 15, 20 children outside playing, little children. Not one of them has a mask. There's so many people that don't understand the reality of the necessity of wearing masks. And I think just personally to anybody who's on and for all of us to keep reaching out to neighbors and everybody else, put the mask on. It's a simple thing and it helps save lives. You know, it's not a challenge. Piece of fabric, put it on.
I agree. I think they should do a mask mandate throughout the year.
I do too. I do too.
Hopefully soon. Okay, no need to go into closed session? Mr. Kenny?
No.
Okay, can I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Can I have second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everyone have a good week and be safe and
Happy Thanksgiving.
Giving.
Everyone.
Thanks.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Be safe.